Alright, so today I want to talk a little bit about driving. Most of my videos up to this point have been about putting, and I am a firm believer in the fact that if you want to be a good golfer of any kind, whether it be disc golf or ball golf, you drive for show, you putt for dough, and putting is the most important part of anybody's golf game. But driving is just as important. Well, maybe not quite as important, but still, you want to be able to drive well. And in the future, I'm going to make a couple videos about mid-range game. But for the most part, I subscribe to the idea that mid-range is just kind of a perfect blending of putting and driving. So if you can do putting and driving really well, mid-range is just gonna kind of come along. So as it's been a beautiful spring here in Michigan, I've had a lot of time to really work on my drives and getting off the tee, as I spent most of the winter working on putting, as is evidenced by my videos. So I want to talk about a couple of things that I've implemented this spring, and it's gotten me really excited about the upcoming season. First of which is this idea of throwing nose down. And if you pay attention at all to disc golf forums, and if you've looked online at how to get better at disc golf, chances are that you've read a little bit about this idea of throwing a disc nose down. Excuse me. And it really only clicked for me this spring as to what that really means in its full extent. Just recently, probably within the last maybe 2.5 weeks, I've just now gotten able to max out my distance at around 450 feet. Up until that point, I was throwing 350, 375 consistently with control, what some pros call on-course distance. So it's not like you're just throwing as hard as you can to get the most distance out of your shot. It's distance plus the control that you need for a good golf shot. And I've changed a couple things about my throw that have really helped contribute to adding this controlled distance. The first of which that I want to talk about is a change in grip. I'm going to get a little bit up close and personal to show you exactly what I mean. Most people know that 4 fingers under the rim of the disc is how you should hold a disc golf disc. Let me move back a little bit so you can still see, but maybe I'm not really exactly sure how the camera's framing it up. But 4 fingers somewhere under the disc is how you should throw a driver for most distance while still keeping a good amount of control. So my grip for the last couple of years has been 4 fingers like this. My pinky's more pressed. My first finger is tucked and pressed against the rim of the disc, and these 2 middle fingers are kind of curled, with the ends of my fingers actually kind of going into the rim of the disc and meeting the flight plate. But the most important thing that I've done recently is change my thumb angle. Before, I was holding my thumb pretty flat to the flight plate and applying a lot of pressure with this joint part of my thumb pad right here. That was where I was kind of trying to pinch the disc. What I've done in the last couple of weeks and months is I've switched to a modified birdie grip with a little bit more fanning of my middle finger onto the flight plate. And I've done that mostly with these smaller rim drivers like this T-Bird I have here. I keep my ring finger, my middle finger in for the wider rim drivers like the Nuke that I have on the ground over there. But for the smaller rim drivers like this, I do a little bit of a birdie grip kind of thing, but I keep it really, really tight. And what I've done with my thumb, and maybe you can see the difference here, is I've changed the point on my thumb at which I apply a pressure to the flight plate. And I want you to watch the difference that this makes. I move my thumb from here to there. And I just apply pressure as opposed to with the part of my thumb where my joint is to the part of my thumb that's really the tip and the pad of my thumb. And this was a realization that I came to just kind of on a whim one day, and it's completely changed the way that I throw. So I want you to watch it again. My elbow is bent, and I change my thumb pressure, and the nose tips down just even that little minuscule amount, and it's made all the difference in the world. What I found was my biggest problem going back to when I drove for most of the earlier part of last year is throwing and kind of coming off of my shot like this, and my weight was back. And this is an extreme example, but my drives were skying, and I would have to throw some really flippy discs to get them to travel any kind of distance before they would just fade hard to the left and stop flying, basically. And what I realized is that golf discs are, in a sense, aerodynamic pieces of equipment, and they're designed, they're built purposefully to travel flat and to aerodynamically stay in the air for as long as possible and go for a long time. And this was like one of the hardest things that I've had to get through my head playing disc golf. You don't have to give a disc golf disc height in order to get to go far. My couple 450-yard or 450 feet drives that I've had have traveled the entire length of the flight, maybe maximum 10 to 15 feet off the ground. You don't want your disc to have to fight gravity in order to get distance. So this is the one thing that I've learned, is getting that nose angle extremely down, coming across your body, getting your weight all the way through, and delivering the disc at a plane where it's not going to have to fight against gravity to get that extra distance. And that's helped me immensely. I can't even tell you how much getting this one little thing through my head has helped my game. So by that token, I kind of want to talk a little bit about something that I've done to help a couple of my friends get this nose down angle and also keep their weight coming through their shot. Because, as I said, the reason I was skying so many shots is because my weight was on my back foot at the end of my shot. So I would get back here, and my weight would kind of be back as opposed to coming all the way through my shot, like so. One thing that people run into a problem there is they get their arm back like this, and during their pullback, their arm their disc is very much underneath their off arm. And while that works for a handful of touring pros, namely Garrett Gurthie, if you watch him, and he throws very much with his off arm out and away from his body. The best way to increase distance and also keep this smooth, fluid motion that delivers the disc in a way that's not herky-jerky. A term or a phrase that I've heard that made a lot of sense to me was, smooth is fast and fast goes far. So the more you can smooth out this motion, the more you can compact your driving motion, the smoother and the faster and the more efficient your motion can be, and therefore that translates to distance. So one thing that I've tried to help a couple of my friends who have struggled a lot with having this off arm kind of off here crazy, doing a lot of different things, a drill that I've developed for them is to take another disc, aside from the one that they're driving with, and to put it under their off arm like this. And this has helped. One of my real good friends has really used this a lot in his practice, and it's helped him a lot because through his entire motion, it keeps this arm at his side, shrinking the amount of surface area that he's trying to throw through the air as he's coming around. Think about it if you're spinning in an office chair and you have your legs sticking straight out in front of you. You're not spinning as fast as if you would if your legs were tucked tight up to your body. It's something that kids do all the time, and it's something that I'm sure you've experienced at one time or another. So keeping this off arm tight to your body is actually really important. But the problem that people run into with this drill, and it's a great drill, it's helped my friend immensely, but the problem that sometimes they run into is getting back to that idea of your weight never coming through all the way. You're so focused on keeping this disc under your arm that you never get your weight through, because this off arm is a big part of getting your weight entirely through. For a right-handed backhand thrower, as your right arm is coming through, your left arm kind of has to follow it out and down your line of flight to make sure that your entire mass is getting through the shot. And you can see that no matter who you're watching throw a disc. You know, their off arm comes through and they're kind of spinning like that. And that's the telltale sign that their weight is coming through efficiently and smoothly. And so my friend that I developed this drill for was having a hard time getting his weight entirely through his shot because his arm, he didn't feel like he could get his arm all the way through. And so he was coming off of his shots like this, and stuff wasn't going well. So I told him, just let your arm keep the disc where it is up until your follow through. And at the point of follow through, it's okay for that disc to come out. You just don't want it coming out back here when you're reaching back. That's where you don't want the disc coming out from underneath your arm. So if you feel like your arm is way out here when you're throwing, and I've seen a lot of people on YouTube throw this way, compact your form, get your arm tight to your body so you can spin and rotate faster and get more velocity behind your disc without having to really strong arm it, because it's still a fluid motion. You're just spinning faster. Drive your left arm down your line of flight as you're following through, and keep that disc under your arm until this point right here when your arm's coming out. So it should look like that. Something like that. I hope that helps. I hope if you tried it works for you. It's worked for my friend. It's worked for me. And it's really improved the way that I drive and the way my friend drives. There'll be more videos to come. I know it's been a long time since I posted a video. I hope you are still learning a lot. I'm not a pro. I'm just trying to convey what I'm learning about disc golf as I'm learning it. And I'm hoping it's helping other people that are in my same boat. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.